A whole ton more Warhammer 40K releases this week. We've got new Snickrod and Farsight, a bunch of boarding patrols, new dice, Steel Legion, and the Farsight Book. Let's talk prices and how much they're going to cost. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where again there's another fairly big Warhammer 40k release this week. A bunch of new miniatures including new Farsight and Snickrod, plenty of boarding patrols, and more. As per normal with these ones, they were announced last night, and this morning Games Workshop's published their prices. These ones will be going up for pre-order live on Saturday the 25th of March, and they will be going on full sale the week after. For a quick rundown of this week's releases, we've got Boarding Patrol Tau Empire featuring the new Farsight model, some custom dice for the Farsight Enclaves, Arks of Omen number 4, surprisingly enough featuring Commander Farsight, 5 new boarding patrols including Orks with the new Snickrot, Necrons, Aeldari, Drukhari and Grey Knights, and then rather interestingly a whole bunch of Steel Legion models going up for made to order. Let's talk through them all, what details we know about them, and whether or not their prices are looking like a good deal, at least in terms of Games Workshop's miniatures. First up, I'd say perhaps the most interesting release of the week is Boarding Patrol Tau Empire. This is going to be £80, €105 or $130. This one's the one with new Commander Farsight and a bigger battlesuit, an interesting one with the Dawnblade and a hexagrammatic ward thing to keep him safe from it, plus apparently a new onboard AI called Supernova. As well as that, there's the Crisis Battlesuits kit and 6 attendant drones, and the Fire Warriors kit as well, and their drones and turrets. When I did my recent comparison of the boarding patrols and asked you guys which ones were the best ones, this one was voted very top out of ones that people were most interested to get their hands on. It's really hard to go too far wrong with this, really quite a nice new Farsight model that a lot of people seem to like, plus perhaps the two most iconic unit choices of the entire army, both of which are very usable in game at the moment. I feel like this one's going to be popular, so it might be worth being prompt on the day that it's released. A few of the other boarding patrols have sold out kinda fast, so I'd try and get there early if you did want to get your hands on this one. In terms of discount, it looks like around about 34% less than what Games Workshop would typically sell these kind of models for separately, obviously estimating Farsight a bit there. Not really too bad, and in line with Games Workshop's combat patrols. Again, I'd say it's pretty decent given a nice new miniature, plus some helpful models for just about any Tau army. Hand in hand with that, we've also got some Farsight Enclaves dice. These ones are £22, €29 or $35, so as normal expensive dice are expensive. I'd say as Games Workshop's custom dice go for these ones, they are a bit cooler than most. I'm sure at least some people will want to pick these up as custom dice for the Enclaves. I still think though that in terms of the price per dice they are incredibly expensive, and I think that they were a bit of a better deal when they had them in sets of 20 rather than 15, where you're probably going to be rolling them in multiple batches. Lastly, for the Farsight things, we have Arks of Omen Farsight, the second last one in their series before we presumably get the Lion one. This one's £35, €45 and $60, and as per normal it's the normal mix of boarding patrol rules and some interesting lore for Warhammer 40k. The boarding patrol rules in this one are apparently ones for the Tau Empire, the Craftworlds, Inari, Drukhari and Harlequins, plus the Adeptus Auroritus. A bit of a funny mix that one, and kind of surprising that Orks aren't in this one given that they feature in the narrative. Beyond that, there's rules for 2v2 multiplayer games of boarding patrols, plus some sort of missions pack called Dark Depths. From their teaser text it sounds like it's going to be another way to play the boarding patrol terrain. Plenty of people have been playing boarding patrols, so rules wise I guess it's probably most useful if you collect one of the factions of those. I think there's a lot of people are mainly just interested to see where the lore goes with this one though. Apparently it's going to be Farsight resisting some Orks, and then he's rudely interrupted by a Balefleet and an Ark of Omen, and some sort of three-way scrap ensues. It'll be interesting to see how it fits in with the greater narrative, if at all, and I'll hope to do a quick summary of the lore when we get it. Apparently if you pick up this one, the Farsight dice, and the Boarding Patrol Tau, then they throw in a little art print of Farsight as well. For me though, I feel like the Tau models have a lot more value compared with either the dice or this book. Otherwise though, besides all the Farsighty stuff, we've got 5 other boarding patrols. Probably the most interesting out of these is the Orks one, as you have the new Snickrot miniature in this. The box set costs £85, €110 or $140, and that gets you new Snickrots, 10 Beast Snaggers and 10 Commandos, plus 5 flash kits as well. As it goes, this one is slightly pricier as the boarding patrols go, on the upper end of the spectrum. But as you get significantly more models in this one than the majority of them, I'd say it's still not the worst deal in the world, particularly as the Beast Snagger boys plus the Commandos are both relatively recent kits as well as Snickrot. Overall in the box it adds up to around about $225 worth of models if bought separately. That would be roughly a 38% discount from Games Workshop, so not enormously different from the tower really. Again, as it goes, this one's going to be a more popular one, probably driven by Snickrots plus Commandos. Not the worst for getting a bunch of recent greenskin sculpts on the table. Next up, we've got Boarding Patrol Necrons. This one's £80, €105 or $130, so the same as the tower for this one. In this one, you get 10 warriors, 3 scarabs, 10 Lich Guard or Triarch Praetorians, and 3 Ophidian destroyers plus their plasma sights. Again, as the boarding patrols go, this one is again one of the more popular ones. I think that the Lich Guard and Triarch Praetorians are kind of helpful as you can build them as either loadout, so I feel like it's a bit more likely to be relevant to a lot of Necron players if they had one but not the other, for example. The Ophidian destroyers are really quite recent nice sculpts that haven't been discounted too much. Maybe the Necron warriors are a little bit less exciting in the box, seeing as they're so available in things like the recruit box set, but I guess they're not exactly the worst units to have decent amounts of. I feel like on other metrics the box does pretty well as well. Really quite a solid 44% discount, far above Games Workshop's normal combat patrols, and you get a reasonable amount of points in the box as well, around about 500, and some of the boarding patrols are a bit lacking on that regard. I feel like this one will be quite popular. I think it pairs pretty well with the Necron Combat Patrol or the starter sets. Next up, and for the same price, we've got the Aeldari, again £80, €105 or $130. This one's the slightly odd looking Corsairs plus Banshees box set. 2 units of the Kill Team Corsairs that you can either build as the Void Reavers or the Void Scarred, the Phoenix Lord Jane Zar, and 5 Howling Banshees. I feel like the Howling Banshees in particular are fairly awesome sculpts. This one was one of the slightly less popular boarding patrol box sets. I feel like there's maybe just not quite as much excitement for the Corsairs. They are fairly nice models, but they're certainly Eldar of one given theme. They might not necessarily fit in with the aesthetic or play of every single Craftworld army. If you've already got a copy of Jenzar as well, again that won't help the value of this one. On the positive side though, depending on exactly how you equip all the miniatures, it looks like there's around about 530 points worth of models in this box. Say if you build at least one of the units as the Void Scarred and take a few of the specialists, and the discount isn't too bad either, 42% off on some fairly recent Eldar sculpts. Certainly not terrible, provided you do actually want these models in specific. Next up, we've got the Drukhari. These ones are a cheaper one at £70, €90 or $115. In this one, you've got a Succubus, 20 Witches, and 5 Incubi. Overall, not a terrible start to a Witch Cult section of an army, maybe alongside some Covens or Cabals. But this one was one of the ones that people were a bit less enthused about, being voted pretty low on the popularity contest. I feel like people just aren't really all that excited for mass witches in a box. Though I suppose being so focused, it means it is one that you can get if you really want a bunch of them, and if you don't, it's easy to skip this one out. The discount isn't awful, around about 36%, but again it maybe doesn't seem to be the most inspiring one for Drukhari players. Lastly, for the boarding patrols, we've got the Grey Knights one. This one's £70, €90 or $115, again on the lower end of it. This one's a smaller and sweeter one with Castellan Crow, the Strike Marine kit that allows you to field the Interceptors or Purifiers and things, and 5 Grey Knight Terminators. As they go, this one was voted a bit more popular by you guys. Castellan Crow is the most recent Grey Knights miniature that Games Workshop have released, so not a terrible one and quite a nice sculpt in my opinion. Then Grey Knights have got kind of limited things that they can do with the rest of the box sets, being infantry for boarding patrol. And in this one you get both of the standard infantry kits for the faction, 2 of the kits that just about every Grey Knight army is going to be building around. Overall certainly seems pretty solid if you're either getting into Grey Knights, or you just wanted to add some more infantry bodies to the force and you needed Crow. The discount is on the lower end of things at around 33%, but I feel like that's maybe not the biggest deal, seeing as I feel like the vast majority of armies will have good use for all the miniatures here. Finally, and something that they showed off that I thought was interesting, is that they seem to be bringing back the Steel Legion as a made-to-order wave. Games Workshop seem to do this semi-regularly, and quite often for the guard kits it seems. Basically they're going to have a release window of the Steel Legion Guardsmen. The deal being that you order the ones that you want, then they make them, and then they ship them out to you, so they know how many to produce. I don't think that they actually said in their article, but I strongly suspect that these will be coming out in metal, as that's what they were before, and it seems that the choices for these ones are 2 different heavy weapon teams, a las cannon and a heavy bolter, a Steel Legion commissar, a few officers and sergeants, plus a plasma gun special weapon, and an infantry squad with a man-portable missile launcher in it. I think that the sergeant guy holding up a severed orc head is quite fun as well. I'd expect these small characters to be priced alongside Games Workshop's minor characters, probably quite expensive for what they are, I suspect, probably around £17 or $28 or thereabouts. We don't get the pre-order price for these until they actually go up on Games Workshop's website, I think. They will be direct only as well, so no third-party discounts. Beyond those sets, they also have a platoon offer as well. This one has 3 las cannons and then 2 copies of that same infantry unit, plus it looks like one of the officers as well, so I guess that'll be 24 models overall, and I suspect if they're going to be bundling this all together, it would probably come at a discount compared with some of the rest in exchange for ordering so much. I guess we'll see though. Kind of interesting to get sculpts like this re-released from time to time. I really think the Games Workshop should get around to just making some regiment-style boxes like they did for the Krieg with the other ones though. Just making one of the Krieg-style boxes for Steel Legion and Kathchans I think would be a really good start, and then get on to the others when they get round to it. So anyway, let me know what you think of the pre-orders this week. Would you be tempted to pick up your faction's boarding patrol or not? Let me know down in the comments. While we're on the subject of big Warhammer 40k boxes though, I thought I might just briefly mention the Vastor box set giveaway that I'm going to be doing in the start of April. As many of you are aware, I'm sure by now, I do a big giveaway at the start of each month. The April one is going to be for 4 copies of Vastor's Wrath of the Soulforged King box set, containing new Vastor Obliterators, a Venom Crawler and Cultists on the Chaos side, versus new Azrael, 10 Intercessors, and the Deathwing Terminator Squad on the Dark Angels side. As per normal, there's 2 different ways to enter this, both of them links down in the video description. You can support the channel on Patreon for any amount, that gets you automatic entry each month, or you can support the channel on social media completely for free, subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Facebook page, and then to actually enter the giveaway on the free method, a post appears on the 1st of April. Respond to it with a photo of any 40k miniature or imagery with your name and the date handwritten within the photo. The last bit just to try and deter Facebook bots or spammers. When all of that's done, I put all the free entries in with the Patreon entries, pick out 4 winners using a random number generator, and then the results of the draw are announced on YouTube in a channel update video on the 4th of the month. There'll be further giveaways each and every month, so feel free to check out the Patreon page or the Facebook page down in the video description if you'd like to be in with a chance of getting some kits. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you for listening. Let me know your thoughts on the new Boarding Patrol box sets, particularly the Tau and the Orks. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say on those, and whether you think they're a good deal or not for the price that Games Workshop's asking. I'll certainly be looking forward to covering any more news of these throughout the week, particularly if we get a new datasheet for Commander Farsight or anything like that, and I'll cover the lore for the Farsight book on the channel, so feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see that later. In any case, an absolutely enormous thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.